Oh, hi. Today I want to know, how do we disprove COVID conspiracies? I'm CrossJLi and welcome to A Wonderful Waste of Time. This is actually my second time recording an intro for this video because after spending ages researching, writing, recording and editing a video that explains why coronavirus conspiracies are misinformation, YouTube for some reason decided to delete the video on the grounds of misinformation. So to remove any subtlety, nuance or sense of humour that YouTube's algorithm obviously doesn't pick up on, this is a video explaining why the conspiracy theorists are wrong. Please don't share anyone's made up nonsense even if I reference it in this video. And maybe read through the WHO's guidelines on the vaccine and the virus. And to make things abundantly clear, I hired someone who doesn't do subtle. Someone obnoxiously in your face with all the grace of a 90s advert for a kid's toy called Snot Rocket. There's just a water pistol that fires green gunge into people's faces. And all the kids are like, whoa, awesome! And then one of the kids goes and shoots their mum in the face. And at first she's pissed, but then she's like, you rascals. Anyway, here's Cool Wolf.
What's up, muchacho?
Cool!
Of course it's cool. I'm a cool wolf. I'm Cool Wolf, the wolf of cool. Here to remind you to eat your vegetables. Try to get plenty of exercise, and hard drugs will destroy your body from the inside out.
Whoa, that took a turn. That's not exactly what I was expecting from the literal party animal.
Can't party if you're dead, friend.
True. Anything else?
Get a dental checkup every 6 months. Try to reduce the amount of meat you eat. It's way better for the environment. And excessive binge drinking could make your organs fail.
Fuck. Not a big drinker then.
I drink in moderation, but I party excessively. That's the Cool Wolf way, baby. Ow!
Nice.
Noise! Want to see your brain on drugs?
Nah, I'm not sure many people will get that reference. We should probably get on.
Cool. I get it now. Guess I'll just go make an omelette or something.
So, with a couple of extra warnings and a less sarcastic title, here's the video.
Government-controlled intelligence operatives have provably made Facebook groups that make it seem as though peaceful protesters are planning riots so that they can pretend it's proof that they were stopping violence when they were actually the ones starting the violence.
Damn, man. That's messed up.
Yeah, those guys do not know how to party.
Yeah, but the thing is, the vaccine, this is chemicals though, isn't it?
So, I feel like I need to start with something important. I've heard people talk about vaccines and side effects in a way that makes it clear that they don't really know what a vaccine actually is. While a vaccine is a treatment, it's not like medicine that directly fights against the problem. It's actually a version of the virus that's been weakened to the point that your body can easily defeat it, and then your immune system will know how to fight it off again if you ever contract the full version of the virus. And if that doesn't make sense, here's a handy way to picture it. Just imagine you're in your kitchen. You're just going about your day. Maybe you get something out of the fridge or whatever, and you feel a presence in the room. You try to shake it off, just pretend that everything's fine, but he's very real. Mike Tyson. In his prime, heavyweight champion of the world, and he's just going door to door looking for people to fight. And right now, it's your turn. But what if there was another option? You're probably going to have to fight Mike Tyson, but what if you could fight a different version? What if you could choose to fight him when he's old and frail? Sure, he's still jacked as fuck at 54, but one day he'll be 84 and that's not so bad. What if you can just easily show him out the door?
I used to be the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yep, I know. Of course you did.
And if the prime Mike Tyson ever comes back, you can tell him you ain't looking for a rematch.
Bye.
Sure, there's still a small chance that Mike Tyson might think he hasn't fought you, and you'll still have to face him. But if you choose to fight the weakened version, then there's way less chance of that. And that's exactly what a vaccine is, a greatly weakened version of the virus that your body will almost always be able to handle, which will train up your immune system to fight off the full-strength version of the virus. This is not the same thing as medicine, which would be something that fights Mike Tyson for you. The best case scenario and what most medical professionals are aiming for is having Muhammad Ali fight your battles, or you hide in the corner of the ring like the coward you are. Though there is sometimes the issue that some money-grubbing big pharma capitalist extremist who cares more about the selling price than actually helping sick people will hire Floyd Mayweather, who might be technically proficient but couldn't take on Iron Mike pound for pound, though I guess he's really in it for the pay-per-view anyway. That last part wasn't really part of the example, I just wanted to point out that people that gouge sick people for money instead of helping them, and a boxer who's made a fortune fighting people who aren't boxers and then wins because he's a boxer, they're all a bunch of dumbs. It's also important to remember that there are other boxers. There have been many champions and other people might be dealing with Sugar Ray or Chris Eubank, and one day we might have to too. So even if you're weirdly apathetic to other people dying, just remember that helping everyone not have to fight might mean that we don't have to fight too.
Well, ever since they put up those towers, everything's gone wrong, hasn't it?
A little over a year ago, in the span of 3 days in April, 50 5G towers were destroyed in the UK. Engineers were verbally and physically assaulted, and people had to evacuate their homes because they were being put in actual danger, including several cases of arson. Except they weren't 50 5G towers. Most of them were just regular phone towers or 4G, and one of them was a communications tower for a hospital in Birmingham. So in attacking people that were just doing their job, nearly burning people in their own homes, and making it more difficult for people working in a hospital during a pandemic, those people sure did do a good job of saving everyone from the perils of faster internet speeds. But what I really want to know is, why do people think this? Where does it come from, and what do they even think is going to happen? It would be impossible to pinpoint the exact moment that someone decided that 5G was vastly more evil than 4G, but there are multiple events that go back further than you might think. One of the oldest mentions I can find of someone trying to destroy 5G goes back to 2018, when some bloke in Maidenhead decided to grab a ladder and climb up a lamppost on his street to dismantle the evil 5G that was lurking upon it. Of course, it wasn't 5G, there's a number of other things that it could be, and it could be one now because relay points for phone signals in lampposts are more common in the UK in 2021. But in 2018, it was probably just the controls to turn the lights on and off, or if it was on a high street, it could have been the output for one of those microphones that are in the lampposts. Which of course is part of another conspiracy in which the government are listening to partial fleeting conversations to steal your information, when in reality it's just so the CCTV knows to turn towards a loud bang, or someone shouting, "Help!" or "Stop, thief!" or "That's it, Reginald, put up your jukes, I'm gonna spiff you right in the biffer." Really, the only danger was that guy falling off of a ladder or getting electrocuted, which probably would have fed him the full force of his local section of the national grid. Though if he was standing on a metal ladder while holding a metal lamppost, he surely would have turned into some kind of freaky superhero with ladders for legs and exterior lighting for arms. We'd call him Old Lampy, and he'd accomplish absolutely nothing because his long unbendable legs would prevent him from reaching the rest of society without lying down. Also, he'd have fucking lamps for hands. In May of 2019, still pre the pandemic, this picture started circulating, mostly on Facebook, of what was claimed to be a person in a hazmat suit installing a 5G tower. The first clue that something's afoot should be that this was mostly circulated in the UK, and if we use some clever, high-tech image processing that's usually only reserved for professional surveillance teams to just zoom, enhance, analyze. Yep. That's a palm tree, baby! In fact, it's what's called a monopalm, a communications tower design that's supposed to help it blend into the environment a bit and make birds feel more comfortable around it. And while it is possible to grow palm trees in the UK, they wouldn't be the most sensible choice of camouflage. But what I find really funny is the idea that they'd need to wear a hazmat suit. Is everyone's idea of radiation so outdated that they think there are like uranium bars in the tower, or it's powered by nuclear waste? And even if they were highly dangerous, Do people not think that if they were smart enough to pull off some grand evil plan, they might also be smart enough to not turn the machine on until they're far enough away to not need a radiation suit? Anyway, turns out it was probably just someone cleaning bird shit off of it with a jet washer. And they were wearing the suit to not get a face full of avian feces. Oh, and it was a 4G tower, so that's like a whole G less scary anyways. The real influx for the UK came in 2020, a few weeks before those attacks on workers and cases of arson, when a video went viral of a woman berating two workers as they were installing cables for a communications company. It doesn't say who. She starts off by asking them if they work for the NHS. And I have a feeling she already knows they don't, unless she thinks they're wearing neon yellow scrubs and they're doing pavement surgery. She then tells them that they should be further apart, which at the time was probably true, and that they're not essential workers, which was very much not true. It's even listed on the government's website under street works, because people need the ability to talk to each other. I mean, how else were people going to do their 28th Zoom quiz that week? After they explain that they're installing cables and mention G who shall not be named, she starts popping off and matter-of-factly tells them that when they turn the 5G on, they'll be killing their own mothers and their children. Now, the term Karen gets a little overused sometimes, but this woman was being an absolute fucking Karen. Listen to how she says it.
Hold up there. You're about to see a video of a woman making some real big claims, none of which are accurate. Do not share that video if you see it, and it's only here right now for a reference. Ignore it, but pay attention to it for the sake of this video, but ignore it in the rest of the world.
Well, how do you feel that when they turn that switch on, bye bye mama, are you content to continue doing that job? Are they paying you well enough to kill her? You've just admitted that you're laying 5G, so that's basically why we're all inside, why you've got free reign of London. No?
It's such a mocking tone. Even if she thinks she's somehow saving people, she's completely belittling the concept of this guy's mum dying, which is fucking appalling. So, with the growing cases of anti-5G conspiracy, all they need is someone with a larger audience to spread the idea. Your everyday garden variety conspiracy theorist only has a small circle to spread misinformation to. But when journalists and newspapers start to purposefully write it in a way that makes it sound plausible, or leave it to the very end of a long article because they want to create enough fear that you keep reading, then people are going to start to believe it, because for some reason people still think the news is news and not wholly played for entertainment. Because the internet's full of clickbait, but a newspaper headline would never lie to you or sensationalise a story just so that you buy the newspaper. And once it's treated like a possibility, it needs bigger people. People with a following, and people who can have opinions based on complete fiction but not have any consequences for it because they don't even need to pretend to have journalistic integrity. That's where the celebrities come in. Plenty of not actual celebrities like reality TV stars and shouty podcast people. Maybe even a few of those shitty YouTubers who made their careers based on exploiting children for money using Roblox-themed online gambling dens. But it's also bigger celebrities. Not anyone noted for being a big-time science head, but people who people recognise and have some rapport with. People like Amir Khan, boxers again, who said, and I quote, "I think it's a man-made thing, guys. It's been put there for a reason. To keep everyone in while they test for 5G. It might be for population control." John Cusack, who said, "5G will be proven to be very, very bad for people's health." Wiz Khalifa, "Corona, 5G, or both." Woody fucking Harrelson posted a video about people in China taking down 5G towers, which doesn't prove anything, and then went to Sweden and said he feels safe, doesn't fear the Reaper. There's a lot of masks and gloves and hand sanitizer. As he goes to a country that had just installed a bunch of 5G towers. So was it just an arbitrary off-the-cuff post? Did he change his mind but not bother to post it? Or does it not matter when you're so rich that there are no personal consequences for the dumb shit you say? There's plenty more people. Hugely well-known global celebrities like Madonna. Remind me while they're famous celebrities like Amanda Holden. It all adds up. But one of the most outspoken celebrities I've found is someone I've never even heard of. But they have 4.2 million followers on Twitter and over 2.5 million followers on Instagram. A singer and actress called Kerry Hilson, who I don't know enough about to comment on her personality or public image prior to this, but within a few seconds of scrolling through her Instagram has stuff like this. Which, while, you know, to each their own, do what you want, but in that context the word vibration is literally meaningless. Kerry posted, "People have been trying to warn us about 5G for years. What we're going through is the effects of radiation. 5G launched in China. Nov 1, 2019. People drop dead." Which, as we know from earlier examples, people have been saying this kind of stuff since way before Nov 1, 2019. Old Lampy Ladderlegs was saying it in 2018. And we're pretty sure the first outbreak didn't happen in the UK. What really gets me is the conflicting ideas. They're saying that 5G had just been installed in China, but they're saying that people have been warning us for years. There's also proof that 5G existed in other countries, so why hadn't anything happened until then? Saying that 5G was installed to kill people, but that they want everyone to stay inside while it's being tested. Surely if the point was for it to kill people, they would have tried to stop people from staying away from it. The stupid ideas can't go in both directions. It can't be all things. I know it's a big group of people, and they're all welcome to have their own individually made up bullshit, but they can't talk about it like the commonality of them all deciding 5G is evil makes it all make sense. Because it doesn't. If 200 people made up stories about aliens visiting Earth, and they all had completely different accounts and completely different aliens, but every single one mentioned that aliens founded the NBA, you wouldn't take that as proof that aliens had founded the NBA, regardless of the details of the rest of the story. So why is it any different for this? The NBA definitely exists. It's fucking televised. And people have been talking about aliens for years. There's even a film about Michael Jordan playing basketball with Bugs Bunny against aliens. They've been trying to tell you for years. It's also funny how newspapers have been reporting that, whoa, wacky celebrities have been spreading conspiracy theories, as if they've not been doing the exact same thing. Ultimately, it likely goes back to the same source as most of this kind of stuff. Professional conspiracy theorists like David Icke, a man who's routinely laughed at for claiming that celebrities and world leaders are shape-shifting lizard people from the fourth dimension. Which, as you know if you've seen my video, What Time Is It?, is time itself, so how they come from time, I don't know. But can somehow be taken seriously when making claims about the pandemic. But he's not alone. Doctor without a licence Thomas Cohen is believed to be one of the first. Mark Steele, a pretend weapons expert who once shot a teenage girl in the head with an illegally obtained firearm while working as a bouncer in Sunderland, backed his claims. An ex-nurse who was fired for endangering the public with conspiracy theories, Kate Sheramani, join them with more unfounded scientific claims. In addition to the Shamtastic Four, there's people like Brian Rose, a podcaster who frequently gives a platform to conspiracy theorists and inexplicably ran for Mayor of London. And then there's Piers Corbyn, the global warming denying anti-vaxxer brother that Jeremy Corbyn tries to avoid talking about in public, who also for some reason decided to run for Mayor of London. Hilariously, they both did worse in the polls than a YouTube prankster. Which is another one of my least favourite things a person can be, but can't be as bad as the conspiracy theorists, right?
We're in lockdown! Someone has stolen my toilet roll. Let's go, Tesco. There is no toilet roll. I know that you're all thinking that there's toilet roll behind me and that I'm a fraud, but no, my friends. This is kitchen roll.
Wipe your ass with the kitchen roll then.
There is no toilet roll in this store, period. Oh, we found some toilet roll.
Jesus Christ.
And I need my toilet paper, so I'm gonna be sleeping here tonight.
It's a prank, as a vlog.
Okay, we're back at the house.
This video is called Staying Overnight at Grocery Store. He appears to have just gone to a grocery store and then gone home. And now he's thrown the fucking gas canister into his house while his friends are there. Why is that not... That's the prank? Your house doesn't become a grocery store if you just take all the stuff from a grocery store. to your house, because then everyone's house is a grocery store. I've skipped through the whole video. He does not stay overnight at the Tesco.
So yes, I am staying overnight in the grocery store car park. Thank you very much for my title. Very cringe.
That he just goes to Tesco twice. He goes one day, he goes home, does something else that could be considered a prank, and then the next day goes back to Tesco. That's not staying overnight in a Tesco. Fuck. This video wouldn't be interesting if he had done the thing that the title of the video is. Let's see what some of the other video titles are. I opened a McDonald's drive-thru at my house, which I guess means that he went and got some McDonald's, took it back to his house and ate it. There's I opened a fake McDonald's, in which he gets some McDonald's and he takes it back to his house and eats it. And of course, I didn't sleep for 72 hours, in which I assume is filmed over 4 days, and he does sleep in between, but there are parts of, you know, the waking parts of the day, the parts where you're awake, those bits all add up to 72 hours. He slept in between, so it's fine, but those other bits, that's the 72 hours he was awake for, which, you know, I've been awake for literally thousands of hours. I just sleep in between every now and then. There's a video called Reverse Shopping in Grocery Store. It looks like he's in Asda. So what does he just take stuff? He goes and buys things in another store. Then he goes into Asda and just... I'm not going to watch it, okay? But I'm assuming he just leaves the stuff in Asda. But the stuff that's in there is some Coke, some Yazoo, which is a milkshake in the UK, and a TV. So why? How's that? That's not a prank. And it's not anything. They'll just sell that stuff. And one of the employees, they'll probably just put that TV in the break room, and then they'll sell the Coke and the Yazoo because it's stuff that they sell. What's the point? Help! I'm going to make a video where I go to Tesco and then I go another time. Staying in Tesco's for a month. I go to Tesco's, then a month later, I also go to Tesco. Stayed there for a month. I was living there. None of the staff knew, couldn't see me, couldn't find me. I was invisible, hidden among the shelves, because I wasn't fucking there for a month in between. I'm just going to start lying about what my videos are now. So, it's a different kind of bad. And these conspiracy theorists make money from it. They get attention for it, all for convincing people of their theories. Then some small number of people fall for it. Some journalists, some celebrities, and some politicians. Unfortunately, including some that somehow run a country.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that? By injection inside.
Very cringe.
Right, that's enough talking about the long-ass walk of how we got here. Let's talk about why we didn't need to come here in the first place. There's nothing for us here, we're knee-deep in bullshit, and science will not only hand us a shovel, but it also clearly signposted that this is a manure factory, and personally told us that the tour is not worth the money. The conspiracy theorist's story only really comes down to one thing. Radiation. Whether they're claiming that it destabilises cell walls or that it makes the virus stronger, it's all claims that 5G will pump out some kind of radiation that will have strong effects on your body. Let's start by looking at electromagnetic radiation waves. At one end of the spectrum you have radio waves, which we unsurprisingly use for radio and satellite television, and at the other end we have gamma rays, that thing that turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk and what we use to kill off cancerous cells. The wavelength shortens and the frequency increases as the photon energy increases. This means that at the radio end it's a very small amount of energy, and at the gamma ray end it's much greater. To try and put it into a more commonly understood unit of measurement, if one side of the spectrum was the size of this fingernail, then the other side of the spectrum would go around the world 5 times. I think. I tried to do all the maths, but it got really hard to turn all the exponents into tangible things. Phone signals fall under microwaves, but don't confuse that with the concept of being in a microwave. A microwave uses microwaves to vibrate the water molecules in food. That's how it heats things up, and why it would be dangerous if you could somehow fit inside a microwave. But microwaves, when they're not concentrated in an enclosed area, are almost entirely harmless. We'll get back to that qualifier of almost entirely in a bit. For example, they're lower on the scale than infrared, the thing that your TV remote uses, the thing that the sun, fires and radiators emit, and how you received mystery gifts in Pokemon Gold and Silver. And higher than that is visible light, as in everything you see, because your vision is based on reflected light. Then we start getting towards danger with the ionising rays, with UV light, which won't do much in small doses, but prolonged exposure or high intensity exposure can do damage. X-rays, which if improperly used can be very dangerous, and finally gamma rays, which again makes Hulk smash. So on the scale of radiation, 5G is very much on the safer side of things. So let's go back to that almost entirely, because like everything else, yes, there is a small chance that it does have some effect, either in incredibly high doses or as part of a wider array of harmful things. Conspiracy theorists are very quick to point out that radio waves are listed as a carcinogen, which is something that causes the formation of cancer, by the International Agency of Research on Cancer. But the vast majority of things are on the list. There's even a section for things that are provably not a carcinogen. They may also be quick to point out that it isn't in that category, and is in the same category as things like lead, chloroform, and a bunch of sciencey terms that I don't understand and are scary. But what they ignore is that this is also the category that includes things like diesel and gasoline, which are often unavoidable, and aloe vera, which is often used to treat sunburn, and pickled vegetables, which are often delicious. And even if you don't drive or ever get in a car, even if you've never used aloe vera to treat sunburn, and even if you hate sauerkraut and kimchi, it's still listed in the category below red meat, coffee, and frying at high temperatures. I think a big part of the problem is everyone hears the word radiation and they start thinking about atomic bombs and nuclear waste, when in reality, everything is radioactive. Even you son of a bitch. It's like how people will say they put chemicals in the water, but water is chemicals. That's what H2O is referring to, so it's not enough information, and some people are just scared of the word chemicals. It's ultimately a game of fuck-witted fill-in-the-blanks where people don't know how something works, but they know it must do something. So instead of learning what, they just jump straight to it being evil. People did this for 3G too, and Wi-Fi, and just mobile phones in general. It's like some people are still living with an archaic technophobia where they think a child can get into the army's weapon system and start a war while thinking it's a video game, where the animatronics in a theme park could turn on all of the guests, and where a mad scientist can reanimate corpse pieces like a fucked up meat jigsaw. But those were all just good societal commentary, and much like these conspiracy theories, aren't fucking real.
I heard the government is putting vaccines inside the microchips.
Another conspiracy that's become widespread and has also been around longer than the current pandemic is the idea that someone's going to use the vaccines to trick people into getting some kind of microchip implanted into them. Now, I've more than covered how this kind of idea spreads, so I can just get straight into it. And this one starts with an immediate flaw. There isn't a microchip small enough to fit into the needle that the vaccine is administered with. To clarify, there are very small computer chips. IBM's created one that they claim is the size of a grain of sand. It's actually a little bit larger than that, but it holds a lot of information for its size. But it's not going into mass production until 2024, and it's still too big to fit in the needle. The publicly available NHS guide of the vaccination kit with all of its measurements states that the Pfizer vaccine comes with a 38mm long 21 gauge needle. And before I go on, can I say I have some level of trypanophobia, so thinking about any size of needle is making me kind of twitchy. I know it's irrational, but the idea of someone stabbing you and then filling you with a liquid sounds way worse in my head than it actually is. Using the Birmingham gauge, a standardisation guide for the sizes of hypodermic needles and tube products, we can see the acceptable sizes for the inside diameter of a needle, which ranges from the teeny tiny 0.19 to the making me twitch again 3.810, which is the size of one of those thin cocktail straws. Blech. A 21 gauge needle, according to the guide, should be between 0.019 and 0.514. So even if the IBM chip was in mass production, it would still be way too big to fit in that needle. A lot of people are worried about being tracked, which I feel like partially comes from how pets can be chipped with an implant that's described as the size of a grain of rice. Here's a picture. It's actually a little bit larger than a grain of rice, and it isn't inserted using a normal looking syringe. It actually uses what's called an implanter, which looks like a sci-fi gun with a needle attached, and is capable of pushing the device through the pet's thicker skin near its shoulder blades. Again, bleh. But even if these devices were secretly installed in you, they're only capable of storing information, not tracking the actual whereabouts of a pet. The information is typically just to help identify them so that they can be returned, but it can also help vets look up information about them in case they've been found injured. So the only thing creepy about these devices is that they look a little bit like what aliens implanted in Mulder in an early episode of The X-Files.
However, does not account for small, unidentified object found in subject's nasal cavity. A gray metallic implant
Theoretically, this could be used in some way to track a person's movements, but it would require an elaborate system of scanners that would ping your location when you're close to them, kind of like a contactless bank card. It also wouldn't give a GPS-like real-time position. If you were standing in the middle of a field with nothing around you to be scanned by, no one would know you're there. Supposedly, the current smallest GPS system is the Micro Hornet. It claims to work at a global distance and is only 10 by 10 millimeters, which is small, but you'd definitely still feel it if someone was pushing it through your skin. And while it does its job autonomously, it would still need a power source, and would likely need to be part of something larger to be secretly inserted into a person. The device is actually much more designed to be installed in smartwatches, action cameras, cars and phones. Which leads to the wider point that if someone did want to track you and keep detailed information about you, surely the logical way of doing this wouldn't be through a secretive implant. It would be through that larger device that you carry with you all the time, that you know has a GPS in it, and you're willing to pour all of your personal information into. Hold on, I'm getting a call. Hello? Why, yes, I will tell you my exact location and a list of items I might be convinced to purchase. Ha! There's also a bunch of videos circulating of people claiming that their arms are magnetic after having the vaccine. Here's my favourite one.
Easy there, muchacho. You're about to see another video with a woman making some big claims about vaccines and magnets. It's all boo hockey, I tells ya. So don't share that video. It's here for a reference, goddammit. Don't take it down, YouTube. We'll take that one down. We'll take this one down. Pay attention, but also don't pay attention.
The magnet. This is the arm I got. The thighs are shot in. And there it is.
Come closer.
Stick into my arm. That's where I got the shot. And here's the magnet on the arm. I didn't get the shot. You go figure it out. We're chipped. We're all fucked.
The reason why it's my favourite? Not because of the way she says, we're all fucked. Not even because of the way that she tries really hard on one arm and then completely fucks it off when she does the other. No, the reason why it's my favourite is because you can see her flip the magnet over because the double-sided tape is on the other side.
And there it is. And there it is. And there it is.
I've watched this video a bunch of times, I've gone through it bit by bit, and you're welcome to do the same. But to save you a bit of time, here's a dramatic reenactment.
Hold on there, fella. You're about to see another video. This one's a parody of TikTok. It's clearly a parody because it has the same guy in it that's in the rest of this video. But just in case, don't share it. It's not real. It's not even on TikTok. That's not our TikTok account. You should follow our actual TikTok account, which is written on screen right now.
Okay, y'all. Today I'm gonna show you that there's microchips in the vaccine without a shadow of a doubt.
Show them.
I will show them.
You gotta show them.
I will show them, Big Randy. Thank you, Big Randy.
So right, you gotta get them know.
This is a magnet. I'm gonna stick this on my arm and it's gonna stick to my arm because there's a microchip in my, because I got the vaccine. We're gonna put it right here.
I told you not to do it.
Put it right here and it's gonna just stick. Hold on now, hold on. Let's try that one more time now.
Hey, why you gonna use the other side? Other side.
Big Randy, I know what. Shut up. And we're gonna put the magnet back on my arm and it's gonna stick. Whoa! Look at that!
Oh my God, yo!
It's the magnet
It's crazy!
has stuck to my arm.
Why?
But if I put it on the other arm, you're gonna see it ain't gonna stick. Really, let's roll up the other sleeve.
You roll it up, roll it up. I told you, you're a magnet now.
And we're gonna stick it. It didn't work! It didn't do nothing!
I told y'all.
Big Randy, how amazed are you right now?
I'm amazed and I'm scared.
And
I'm amazed and I'm scared. I'm scared because you are a magnet. You are basically an android.
I'm not a magnet. That was the magnet. Big Randy, shut the hell up. Everyone on the TikToks, repost this shit.
Look, here's a simple way to debunk this. For a start, most modern computer chips use silicone as a conductor, so they're just not magnetic. But if it were to be magnetic, it would get picked up by a metal detector, because that's how metal detectors work. It creates a magnetic field. Then when it passes over metal, the metal picks up a current. The metal then creates another magnetic field in response, and the metal detector picks this up and goes "Whew." So if there were something magnetic being injected into your arm, which there isn't, then you wouldn't be able to go through an airport without finding out. You wouldn't be able to get an MRI without someone telling you not to get an MRI because it would rip it out through your arm. And what about archaeologists? They're using metal detectors every goddamn day! Like I said before, we don't need to get into the details of how this was spread. It's everything from the previous section with the unfortunate added history of anti-vaxxers, which if we got into would make this video even longer. And unsurprisingly, the same conspiracy theorists that are pushing the 5G stuff are also pushing the vaccine stuff. So let's just talk about one celebrity instead. While there are many well-known celebrity anti-vaxxers, one you might not have known and who commented on this exact situation is MIA, who's saying, "Live fast, die young, bad girls do it well." I don't know how far she lives, but the die young part feels disturbingly apt coming from an anti-vaxxer. She tweeted, "If I have to choose the vaccine or chip, I'm gonna choose death." And while grammatically she's saying she's choosing between a vaccine or a chip, I'm pretty sure she's trying to say that there are microchips in the vaccine. She also made an odd rambling post about how every industry is in bed with one another. And we're in the bed. And so's the virus, which is in bed with science. Sounds like a lot of fun. She even ends it with, "So on. The best is prevention," which only makes sense if she's pro the vaccine. It's just straight up unreadable. I don't even get what she's trying to say with this one. When people called her out on it, she decided to start a tweet with, "Don't panic, you're okay," which I didn't even know it was possible to portray that level of condescension in writing. But to say that, not in a reply, just to the ether of the internet, is hilarious. "You are not gonna die. You can make it without stressing the medical systems. Just breathe. You are going to be okay. You can make it through without jumping in the frying pan. You are fine. All the vaccines you've already had is enough to see you through." Which couldn't be a better example to show that she doesn't know what a vaccine is. How would a vaccine for something else entirely have any impact on preventing you from contracting this specific virus? She has also said, "I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be a truth dispenser." But it seems like she'd have more luck as a fucking Pez dispenser. Because how can you dispense the truth if you don't possess the truth in the first place? Also, how funny would it be if a Pez dispenser was just a person who handed out individual Pez? The plastic toys never existed. It's just like a human ice cream van with a slack handful of Pez. Long story short, if somebody wanted to track you, there'd be way easier ways of doing it. Companies have been doing it for years, so why would the government need to do something so elaborate? They'll just buy it from Jeff Bezos. Idiots. Every time you log into your Amazon account, you're like, it knows all the things I like. Yeah.
Well, Barbara, have you seen the news on the Facebooks? There's worms on the masks.
Finally, we've arrived at Cringe Town, wherever the heck you are, because this one's going to make you squeamish. It seems a little less widespread, and I only came across it while researching for another episode, but there still seem to be plenty of people who believe in it. I thought about not showing any of the videos for this section, because I thought it might lead to more people just sharing them carelessly, but it's going to be very hard for me to talk about it without showing you any of it. So I'll show you the videos, but you have to promise me to watch the explanation afterwards, and not just share these around out of context. Promise me? Look me in the eye. Okay, I'll show you the videos.
Whoa, look out! It's another one of those awful conspiracy videos. Something about worms, I guess. Please do not share it. And this is the last one, so if you make it through not sharing this one, then you earned yourself one cool wool point. Keep it in your pocket. One day, it'll be worth millions. But do share the rest of this video. Just not that bit. Share the whole video. Tell everyone you've ever met about it. But do not share the individual clips out of context. Thanks, guys.
This looks like it's a brand new mask that's being opened up and put under a microscope. And you can see, just like we saw before on the test swabs, these weird black strands that seem to have a life of their own, making movements. They pulled it out and put it under a microscope, and there's all these little black strands that moved towards heat and reacted with water. This reeks of an agenda. An evil one.
So I'll admit, the videos are pretty unsettling. It's a concerning concept, and there's just something about the way they move that's weird, and just the fact that they move at all. The claim is that these creatures have been found on COVID tests and masks, and they've been put there to invade your body, take over your brain, or make you contract Morgellons disease, which is said to be a parasite that lives under the skin. People can feel it crawling under the surface, and it eventually leads to thick fibres growing out through the skin. In a lot of the videos, these fibres are referred to as nanoparticles. The posters show them moving and claim that they're moving towards a person as if they're trying to get them. The concept of parasitic worm creatures that live under the skin is something that's been in films, games, and plenty of other things. It's a common body horror trope, and the nightmarish idea that something is forcing its way into your body and the only way to remove it is to cut it out is terrifying. And unfortunately, parasites are very real. Not this one though. There's several parts of this to pick apart, so we'll start with a simple one. The word nanoparticles is a real term. They're often naturally occurring, but can be man-made. The thing is that they're really small, as the name would suggest. For example, you know how particles are really small, and how the word nano means really small? Well, these are the really small of the really small. They're actually submicroscopic, as in you wouldn't be able to see them with a regular microscope. So any of the videos where someone's holding up one of the fibres, or it's on a swab and they're just filming it with their phone, it's way too large to be what they're talking about. They could be saying that there are nanoparticles on the fibre, but that's never what they're saying. So what about Morgellons disease? While the concept might sound familiar thanks to popular culture, Morgellons just isn't real. There's a few people who have claimed to have it, but doctors have never managed to find any proof that it actually exists. In fact, most people who claim to have it are believed to just have sores related to something else and have built up the condition in their mind. There have been research projects into the concept, but they've all come up with nothing, often concluding that the symptoms match up with a more well-known condition, or what's called a delusional infestation. Delusional infestation is a very real mental health condition, characterised by the ongoing and intrusive thought that somewhere you frequently are or your own body is being infested by something, which can range from things like rats to flies to fungi to a virus or even a parasite. One of the most common connections is a feeling that it's affecting your skin. Weird side note, I bet a lot of people who are ghost hunters and think that things are touching them are experiencing some form of this. The condition's also based around not being able to find any evidence. For example, if you're worried about being touched by rats in a house that provably does have rats, that is not a delusion. It's just rats. From research for this episode, I found that it's generally considered linked to some kind of underlying disorder like schizophrenia, depression, or some kind of substance abuse. And I'm not a professional psychologist, but to me, it seems like it could just be a more extreme and ongoing version of some pretty common paranoia. For example, a couple of years ago, I was in bed trying to sleep when a big-ass spider crawled across my headboard and onto my arm. At first I didn't realise what it was, and then when I did, I got up, freaked out, flicked it off my arm, and it went in between that gap between the mattress and the headboard, and I spent like an hour trying to find this genuinely too big to be in my fucking house spider that was on my person, and I'm not okay with that. And even after finding it and evicting it quickly through a window, I just couldn't stop thinking about spiders. For like 2 weeks afterwards, every time I was in bed, every time the corner of a pillow touched me, or the sheets folded up in a way that touched me, anything in my head was spiders. And there provably weren't any spiders in the room. I bought one of those little plug-in things that emits a frequency that scares them off. I made up like a peppermint solution and coated my entire windowsill, my entire bed frame, the entire door, to the point where my room smelt like living in a box of candy canes, but I was still paranoid that there were spiders somewhere. But then you have to question at what point, when I know that there aren't any spiders, but I'm still worried that there might be spiders, does it cross from just regular paranoia into a delusional infestation? If that had been so traumatic for me that from that point on I was just always paranoid that there were spiders somewhere, but knew that there weren't spiders because I took every precaution, then that would be a delusional infestation, surely. So while it came from something very real, after that first incident, the fear had become irrational. Much like how people who claim to have Morgellons disease may have, or have had, something else that they've just built on top of. The name Morgellons actually goes back further than you'd think. It goes back to way before the start of the pandemic, and even goes back further than early claims of someone having it. In this context, the name actually comes from a case in 2001, when a mother claimed that her son had sores under his lip and complained about bugs. When she looked closer, she found various colours of fibres around the sores. She then took her son to a doctor, who said there was no disease, no allergy, and nothing unusual about the sores, but she continued to take him to more and more doctors. She's on record as saying she took him to at least 8 doctors. I wasn't able to find anything from any of the doctors that mentions the fibres, so they could easily have come from clothing or fabric that the child had put into their mouth, as before they get a full set of teeth, children tend to just chew on things. She then saw a doctor called Fred Helrick, a paediatrician who specialised in solving mystery cases. He also found nothing out of the ordinary and said the mother would benefit from psychiatric support. The mother continued to take her son to more doctors, but more doctors just meant more belief that she had developed Munchausen's by proxy, a condition in which someone uses another person, often a family member, to get attention from the medical system. It can just be making claims about the person's health, but it can also lead to them actually making the person sick so they can get attention from doctors or build a codependency with the person. As the child grew up, the mother continued to make these claims. She coined the name based on an old case history by Sir Thomas Browne called A Letter to a Friend, in which a physician describes some conditions he was working on at the time. In the letter it says, that endemial distemper of children in Languedoc called the Morgellons, wherein they critically break out in harsh hairs on their backs. There are of course several disconnects in this. The woman was making these claims in America in 2001. The doctor was writing in England in 1565, and the case was in Languedoc, which used to be a province in southern France. The word Morgellons, if pronounced with a softer G and double L, becomes Morgellons, which sounds rather French. It could even be a colloquial term that just wasn't translated in the letter, and could refer to the children rather than the hairs. If anyone who sees this speaks French, I'd be really interested to know if that word could come from something else. It's also worth noting that the word children doesn't necessarily mean young children. Teenagers with sores on their back with hairs growing through them definitely sounds like they're just describing puberty. Specifically, my puberty, because I can assure you my back was riddled with acne from ingrown hairs that couldn't make it through the skin. Gross. All in all, this seems like a case of complex misunderstandings, some false claims, and people who needed help but maybe didn't get any. What we do know is no one's been able to prove these claims, including several doctors who've unfortunately had to spend some time over the last year proving there isn't anything dangerous on the swab tests or masks when they could have been doing other things to help people.
Please, I just want to know when I'm going to be allowed back inside a strip club.
I think the point of me making this whole video is that people not doing the right thing has made this whole process take longer. Not just people who believe in these conspiracy theories, but people who are just dicks, who don't want to do what they're asked because they don't care how it affects other people. And all of the politicians who, whether or not they believe in these conspiracy theories, ignored scientists telling them that there was a problem, which if they'd listened would have stopped a lot of people suffering and dying. I think it's also important to remember that while it might be getting better for some of us, there's still plenty going wrong in other places. And there are some people that are just always going to be at risk, and we should be empathetic towards what they're dealing with, especially after having gone through this. This should also apply to non-virus related things, but considering we struggle to get people to be empathetic towards people that live on their street, it would be a step in the right direction to at least give a fuck about people dying. As for the conspiracy theorists, it's probably not something that's going to go away. People just like to make up shit for attention. The problem is that they don't just write a book or a film and present it as fiction. They try and convince others that it's real so that they can manipulate them. So watch out for people who make big claims but say, I won't get into the specifics when you push for more information. Don't just panic post something without looking into it more. And don't think that just because a celebrity is rich and famous that they know more about something than you do. For further research, check out Kurzgesagt's video, The Side Effects of Vaccines. It's a very well informed, very well put together breakdown of people's fears about the vaccine. You can also check out Internet Comment Etiquette's The Revenge of 5G if you want to see more people going absolutely friggin' nuts about 5G. And finally, shout out to Souls for playing Mike Tyson for me. He's an actor and poet, and we recently made a video together for a poem he made about the personal effects of coming out of quarantine. I'll put that in the end card. That's it for this video, but just before we go, I actually got the vaccine 3 days ago. So let's do the woman's little test. I've got a magnet here, it's a fridge magnet. That's an authentic Venetian gondola magnet from Italy. Here's a fork to prove that it's a magnet. Sticks to the fork. Forks are made of steel, typically. That's why that works. And we'll just do what she does. This is where I got it on this arm. Pop it on roughly the same spot. I don't know exactly where it was, but around here. And then we'll see if it stays on. Ah! But... wait. No, I'm just playing. I put double-sided tape on it like she does in the video, so I can pretty much just stick this everywhere. I don't have a steel skull. It's just double-sided tape. The ultimate conspiracy. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching. This video ended up being way longer than I meant it to be, but this is only scratching the surface on conspiracy theories. There will definitely be more videos about them, but I'll try and make them a lot shorter. Hope you're staying safe and get the friggin' vaccine. If you like this video, please like this video. If you want to see more, you should subscribe. If you have a question I should answer, let me know in the comments. And if you know someone who'd enjoy this video, why not send them a link? Bye.